Adam Jensen is back and even more powerful than ever in Deus Ex Mankind Divided. We caught up with the game's producer from Eidos Montreal.
Miller, it's Jensen. Just getting off the train now.
Copy that. We'll debrief when you get in. You're coming straight to the office?
Unless there's a problem at a checkpoint.
Your papers should be in order. Just keep your head down. Miller out.
So my job is to kind of lead the whole team through production, making sure that we have the right tools to work, that people work in good synergy, and we have the right processes. So that's part of the kind of the management aspect of the team. There's a lot of leadership aspects, so giving a lot of feedback to the team, giving them the right objectives, feedback when things go well, not so well as well, and a lot of work as well with the budget, the timeline. So it's kind of a little bit the producer in cinema, like that the aspect of control. So I collaborate a lot with our creative director and the creative group to make sure that they also have the right constraints to know where to start and where to end their work. What we're most proud of with Deus Ex, and this one in particular, is I think the improvements we're bringing to choice and consequence. A Deus Ex game is really important that we give a lot of freedom and choice to the player and how they play, and also the impact that they have on the story. And for this one, we really kind of double down on that. When you get to the end game, it's not just like press one of the 4 buttons and you get your ending. All the different little choices that you made throughout your gameplay will kind of add up and give you kind of a different choice for the ending. So this is really exciting for us. And also just in the kind of the gameplay aspect, we have a much better combat pillar. It's a game where you can play stealth, you can play combat, but we felt that combat was a bit lacking in Human Revolution, and now we brought it up, so it's kind of on par with stealth, so the player has more freedom to choose how he wants to tackle different challenges. What we do when the game is released in terms of looking at the community is, well, we look at the community a lot. Even a few weeks ago when we released the first CG trailer, we were online looking at the comments, and the same thing at E3. We take it to heart, like what fans think of our work. We work on these things for many months and even years, kind of the shadow. So when finally stuff is released, we're really interested in what our audience thinks of our work, and it's super motivating. And once the game is out, we try to avoid surprises. So as right now we're developing the game where we have oftentimes gamers come in our studio. We have a playtest studio and we observe what they do. We ask them a lot of questions. What do they like? What don't they like? Can we iterate on many different specific features? So hopefully when the game comes out, we avoid surprises, and what the community tells us should be kind of consistent with like our view of what we achieve, and maybe things that we should improve in the future. Well, the challenge of working on that with a brand like this is pretty high. Deus Ex is a beloved franchise, and it's one of the classics of gaming, even to the first one. So we take it really seriously to have the opportunity to work on a franchise like this. So when we built the studio about 8 years ago, and the first project of the studio was Human Revolution. So there's a lot of pressure to kind of revive the franchise, and with a new team and all that, and people were expecting us to fail. All the different design decisions were really questioned by the community. So the fact they can go from first person to third person cover, that created a lot of noise. And when we announced that, but we kind of stuck with it. And when the game came out, people loved it. And now the pressure is more to meet the expectations. Like, people know that at Eidos Montreal, I think we can produce a great Deus Ex game. So now we want to meet the expectations, refine it, like I was mentioning earlier, with choice and consequences, better combat, so players can feel like, wow, this is a Deus Ex game like I know, but even better. So yeah, about the audio direction, I wish our audio director Steve Shipkowski would be here, because he's a fantastic audio director. He has such a knack to kind of predict how something a bit futuristic could sound, and I know the audio team iterate a lot on making things that are credible, and it's near future, so it can't sound like Star Wars and something too futuristic, but at the same time it's not the weapons and augmentations of today. So it's finding that balance. It's quite an iterative process, but really I love talking about audio because when we develop a game, it comes together graphically, but sometimes the audio comes much later in production, and when it comes in, it changes the whole game completely. So it goes from obviously the music with Michael McCann, who's did such a great job with Human Revolution. He is back, and the things he's producing right now, guys, it's pretty amazing. Like, we're receiving tracks, and I can listen to them while I work, and I think it's going to be great. But with the new engine, the new technology we're working with, we can add more layers to our sound, and even the way that the characters talk to each other, it's much more credible. We have a lot of lines of dialogues, and the way we manage them is a kind of another level. I don't know if that would be ethically correct, but maybe the social augmentation. I think that's pretty. I could see like your heartbeat and what you think about what I'm saying, and I don't know if ethically that would come through, but if you think about that, augmentation it can be quite powerful. You have to play a Deus Ex game because it's such a unique offer in terms of the 4 gameplay pillars that we have. It's combat, it's stealth, it's hacking, it's social interaction. They're all kind of blended, and the way they're presented to the player is the player has a lot of sort of creative freedom how he wants to tackle challenges with these 4 pillars, and everything is wrapped into a really interesting narrative with very mature themes like segregation and all these things, and at the end of the day the player has a lot of choice into how the story unfolds. So I think the Deus Ex is kind of unique in that sense, and kind of a pioneer. We're trying to continue on that trend.
I can only fight enemies I see.
Then isn't it time you brought them into the light?